Most people know all three names: udon, ramen, soba. They have probably eaten at least one of them, maybe all three. But when asked what actually makes them different from each other, most people reach for the obvious. One is thick, one has that rich broth, one is made from buckwheat. And while all of that is true, it misses the deeper reason why these three noodles feel like completely different experiences. Because the difference between udon, ramen, and soba is not just about thickness or ingredient. It is about philosophy. Each noodle was built with a different idea about what a bowl of food should do. And once you understand that idea, the comparison stops being a simple list of facts and starts being something much more interesting. So let's go through all three, starting with udon. Udon is a thick wheat noodle made from just 3 ingredients: wheat flour, water, and salt. No egg, no alkaline solution, no coloring. Its identity comes entirely from the ratio of those 3 ingredients, the type of wheat used, and the physical process of kneading, which in traditional settings involves the feet, using body weight to develop the gluten in a way that creates udon's signature firm, smooth, almost bouncy texture. That texture is the entire point. Because the broth in a classic udon dish is usually deliberately light, often just dashi, soy sauce, and mirin. It supports the noodle without competing with it. Udon is a noodle that says, "Look at me, feel me." Let the texture be the experience. The broth is background. The noodle is foreground. And this philosophy of simplicity means that when the noodle is right, the bowl works. When the noodle is wrong, nothing else can save it. That is udon. Now, ramen. Ramen is built completely differently. Ramen noodles are also wheat-based, but they contain kansui, an alkaline mineral solution that changes everything. Kansui gives ramen noodles their springy bite, their slight yellow tint, and that specific snappy, firm texture that separates them from udon or any other plain wheat noodle. But here is the bigger difference. Ramen is not a noodle-forward dish in the same way udon is. Ramen is a system. It is built from multiple layers that all have to work together. The noodle, the broth, the tare, the aroma oil, and then the toppings. The broth in ramen is not background. It is a central character. Tonkotsu broth from pork bones, shoyu broth with soy seasoning, miso broth with fermented depth, shio broth with salt clarity. Each broth style changes the entire identity of the bowl. And tare, the concentrated seasoning base added before the broth, adds another layer of difference that most casual ramen eaters have never consciously noticed. Ramen says, "I am a construction." Every layer matters. Every element is there for a reason. Where udon is about honest simplicity, ramen is about engineered complexity. And both are legitimate philosophies, just different ones. Now soba. Soba is the one that surprises people most when they actually understand it. Because soba is not just another wheat noodle. Soba is made from buckwheat, or from a mixture of buckwheat and wheat flour. And buckwheat is not wheat. It is a completely different plant, technically a seed rather than a grain, naturally gluten-free in its pure form. Buckwheat gives soba its distinctive dark color, ranging from pale beige to deep gray-brown, depending on how much buckwheat flour is used. It's earthy, slightly nutty, subtly bitter flavor, and a texture that is more delicate than either udon or ramen. Soba breaks more easily. It is more fragile, more refined. And this fragility is not a flaw. It is part of soba's character. The higher the buckwheat content in soba, the more complex and pronounced the flavor, and the more technically difficult it is to make. Noodles made from 100% buckwheat flour are considered the most pure and the most challenging. And soba is also the most temperature flexible of the three. Served hot in broth during cold months, served cold with a dipping sauce called tsuyu during warmer months, and eaten cold on New Year's Eve in Japan as a tradition of letting go of the past year. Soba carries cultural weight that goes beyond flavor. Soba says, I am delicate, I am specific, I am more than just a noodle. So now we have 3 noodles, 3 philosophies. But why do they taste so different? The answer comes down to 4 things: base ingredient, texture intention, broth relationship, cultural role. Udon is pure wheat, built for chew and comfort. Its flavor is mild and clean. It wants a light broth that lets the noodle speak. Ramen is wheat plus kansui, built for spring and structure. Its flavor is neutral enough to work inside a complex broth system. It wants the broth and tare to do much of the flavor work. Soba is buckwheat, built for delicacy and earthiness. Its flavor is the most distinctive of the 3. You can taste the noodle itself even without broth. It wants restraint around it, not competition. This is why the broths for all 3 tend to be different. Udon broth is gentle. Ramen broth is the main event. Soba tsuyu is concentrated but used in small amounts as a dip or light seasoning. The noodle and the liquid are in different relationships in each case, and this explains why eating all 3 feels so different, even before you think about specific dishes or regions. Now, here is something most comparison videos never say. Each of these noodles is also asking something different from the person eating it. Udon asks you to slow down, to notice texture, to find pleasure in something simple and honest. Ramen asks you to be present in complexity, to notice how the layers interact, to understand that depth can be built deliberately. Soba asks you to be quiet, to notice subtlety, to respect something fragile and specific. These are not just foods. They are different ways of thinking about what makes eating satisfying. And this is why the question of which noodle is best completely misses the point. They are not competing. They are doing different things. Asking whether udon is better than soba is a little like asking whether a good conversation is better than a good book. They give you different things, and which one you want depends on what you are looking for in that moment. So if you only remember one thing from this video, let it be this. Udon, ramen, and soba do not taste different because of a random historical accident. They taste different because each one was built around a different idea of what a noodle should be, what it should do, and what it should make you feel. That is what separates them. Not just thickness, not just ingredients, but philosophy. So now I want to ask you, when you eat one of these noodles, do you think about what the noodle itself is doing? Or do you focus entirely on the broth and toppings? And if you want to understand the savory liquid foundation that works inside so many of these bowls, watch the video on dashi next.